you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. I learned this the hard way with my first company, so I created NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you the visibility and control you need to make smart decisions and grow with confidence. That's why companies who use NetSuite grow 3 times faster than the S&P 500.
Schedule your free product tour right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Leader Show, where we talk key issues and news at the intersection of business and technology in hopes of making you a better digital leader. Today, we're discussing how to gain a competitive edge from AI with Microsoft AI Solutions Architect Naveen Krishnan, plus headlines for digital leaders from the world of enterprise technology. We're live every Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the audio recording is available the following week wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to our sponsor, Oracle NetSuite. Their cloud ERP solution helps provide real-time visibility into operational and financial performance. And ERPA AI members and followers get preferred pricing of up to 45% off. You can go to erpaai.com/netsuite for more information. I'm Dan Goodstein. I head up ERPA AI and the Digital Enterprise Institute, a professional association, media, and peer-to-peer research network providing education, networking, and advice to over 130,000 members globally, all around automation, enterprise AI, and digital transformation. My co-host is Chris Cerdak. He's a senior analyst for ERPA AI, author and consultant, formerly White House Chief Transformation Office Advisor, partner for digital transformation at Gartner, and automation AI practice lead at EY. Chris, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good. It's a new day in America. Lots of news hitting the world, both in tech and otherwise, but some crazy things going on, man. It's like the news influx of news on the every front. I think every major topic is.
I think you batten down the hatches and expect change because we're in for a whole bunch of it.
Yeah. I mean, and just to show you the stark difference, right? I mean, a week ago, the FTC was raising flags on big tech and AI partnerships, concerned about antitrust issues between major tech firms and AI developers. They were kind of concerned in particular about Microsoft and OpenAI and Amazon and Google's collaboration with Anthropic. And then you kind of pan to this week's inauguration, and every major tech leader is there, all as guests of honor at the inauguration. Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Sundar Pichai, Tim Cook, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, all there, fueling rumors that the next 4 years may be very different from a tech business regulation standpoint than at least the trajectory was under the Biden administration.
Again, dramatically different. And then as you were pointing out, FTC up to a week ago was saying we're worried about, a handful of companies dominating the whole AI space. And now as of yesterday, the government's embracing potentially going that route. So again, may you live in interesting times. People should expect a lot of change over even the next few weeks, let alone the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, as it was, last week, Meta made a bunch of news for abandoning the fact-checking program. We talked about that on this show, and making some right-leaning hires, moving workers to Texas. All thoughts that they were trying to cozy up to the new administration. Elon Musk was already expected to have a role in the new administration. So interesting times. Also in attendance at the inauguration was the vice president of the People's Republic of China and the CEO of TikTok, which, by the way, is back up and running after, I think it was like 3 hours or something, back up and running on Sunday. They spun it back up after shutting it down following indications that Trump was going to block the ban. And then he indeed signed an executive order, at least delaying the ban, which currently requires selling to a U.S. business, something that ByteDance says it has no plans of doing.
Well, and if you're going to believe what Trump had said, he wants the U.S. government to own half of it. for $500 billion, which you turn around and then he says he's going to do a $500 billion investment in AGI in this Stargate company. Hey, we're going to be in wild times for a while now. What to me, actually, there was I saw an announcement yesterday, I think from Google, that they're trying to use an entirely new form of architecture and algorithm to replace transformers called Titan. Which, I mean, frankly, to me, that's actually bigger news than I think any of this stuff. A little bit of a recognition that LLMs and transformers maybe have played themselves out to a certain extent, and it's time to look at some other alternate architectures and algorithms, which to me, I actually find that to be a more interesting news item than a lot of this other stuff.
Yeah, the other big announcement you alluded to was this this press conference yesterday with Larry Ellison, SoftBank, claiming it's a multi-trillion-dollar investment, but certainly an interesting partnership again all around AI infrastructure.
Well, and then I think the part of the announcement that was most interesting to me is the notion that it's going to lead to upwards of 100,000 additional jobs in the United States, all in the tech sector. So, there's some, my blog post for this week was discussing the challenges of hiring in today's labor market. That's about to get exacerbated by a major degree going forward. So, it's a good problem to have, having the need for technical people and more technical jobs, but being able to fill those roles is going to be challenging, to say the least.
Yeah, so this is a partnership or a joint venture between Oracle, SoftBank, and OpenAI, as you said, kind of dubbed Stargate, and they're talking about a $500 billion investment over the next 4 years. Reportedly starting with a data center in Texas before expanding into other states. So big announcements, on the investment front. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, who is in Washington this weekend for the inauguration, has also scheduled a closed door briefing for U.S. government officials on January 30th, and he's expected to share advancements in Gen AI super agents, as they're being dubbed, that he's saying are going to change how complex tasks are handled and replace mid-level engineering jobs. This after Meta's Mark Zuckerberg and others talked publicly about AI replacing software engineers and other human jobs later this year. And my first reaction was, yeah, we've heard this before, but this announcement, is claiming that this next generation of AI tools are actually designed to tackle some of the more messy, multi-layered, kind of real world problems that human minds kind of struggle with.
As you said, we've heard it all before, and I'll always go back to, as long as these technologies are effectively statistical guessing engines, and that's basically what they are, you're going to need humans in the loop to monitor what they're doing and to be there when they have hiccups. And we see that every day. I think it was Allstate. Was it Allstate? One of the insurance carriers deployed an AI to do claims processing, and it rejected 93% of all claims that came through, whether or not they were valid or not. That's just the nature of the beast. And the notion that we're going to be able to automate things without that human supervision and human interaction, I think we're a long way off from that.
It's just really interesting to me, this kind of juxtaposition of the things happening with the TikTok ban and concerns over Chinese influence in the U.S. There's a story in Reuters about the U.S. removing malware that was allegedly put on computers by hackers that were backed by the Chinese government. That's something that has been on these computers for nearly 10 years, according to this article, in the U.S., across Europe and Asia as well, and on the computers of Chinese political dissidents. And the goal was to infect and steal information via USB devices. You've got this announcement. There's also an announcement this week that this Chinese AI company is DeepSeek is claiming to be outpacing ChatGPT. And like I said, just seeing the TikTok ban phenomenon on social media over the last couple of weeks, and then the vice president of China being at the inauguration, and then some of these headlines, just very interesting.
Yeah. I know I've done a lot of research, and there's a lot of people doing research on the vulnerabilities that come from all this AI stuff. And it opens up an entirely new can of worms in terms of how you might be penetrated, how your systems might be penetrated, how your information may be taken. And there's a tremendous incentive to do so. So if the barriers to being able to access proprietary information are effectively disappearing and the benefits are there, you need to expect a lot more of that, those sorts of digital attacks coming. And it's going to be very difficult to prevent that. Or even notice that it's happening when it happens.
Yeah. Last headline I wanted to mention, since we're talking about all this U.S. stuff. The U.S. isn't the only one making AI investments. The U.K. Government announced what they call Plan for Change to embrace AI, with plans for AI growth zones, and they're saying a $14 billion investment pledge from private firms, aiming to boost the public sector efficiency and enhance UK's tech landscape. So not just on the US side, there's a bunch of executive orders that kind of prompted some headlines here in the US this week, but investment on both sides of the pond for sure.
That's $500 billion here, 20 billion there. Sooner or later, it adds up to some real money, huh?
It does. And I saw this other stat around the startup and venture market, saying that AI startups pulled in $100 billion last year, which was an 80% jump from 2023, according to Crunchbase. So that marks the biggest year in a decade for AI startups, which is pretty significant, especially in an investment environment that has generally been slowing. That's the pretty big piece of the pie.
Yeah, there's a guy I follow. I think he's a CAI officer, and he publishes every week all of the investments that are being made to AI startups. And he has over 1,500 companies in his database, and as you say, well over $100 billion of investment. The amount of money being poured into this is absolutely staggering, but it's also going to look a lot like, I think, 2000 with the internet. So huge amounts of investment and thousands of companies being invested in. But then there's going to be some sort of market rationalization and shakeout within a year or two after that. So there's going to be a handful of winners and there's going to be a whole lot of losers. But you have to place your bets to even have a chance at success with it. So
yeah. So let me let's get to our main story and our guest today. In a world of, we went from AI announcements every week to AI announcements every minute. I think in the last year and a half. And so one of the questions I always have is, how do you continue to gain a competitive advantage using AI? So let's introduce today's guest. It's Naveen Krishnan. He's an AI solutions architect at Microsoft and is living and breathing this stuff every day. Naveen, great to have you on the show.
Hey, Daniel. Hello, Chris. Glad to meet you all.
So Naveen, give us a little bit of a sense before we kind of jump in as to your background and what you do at Microsoft.
Yeah, so I joined Microsoft around 3 years back, and I'm
lost your audio. Naveen.
Okay.
Yep,
How about now? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Am I okay now?
Chris, you having the same?
Okay, great.
No, I can hear.
Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead. So yeah, I joined Microsoft 3 years back as a cloud architect, and I just got myself involved into AI and then doing a lot of AI stuff at Microsoft. I've created, I work with different I worked with different platforms, like 15 years of career, and then I started as a software engineer in a small startup company back in 2008, and I slowly then moved to different levels of that company, and then I joined Infosys, and I came to US, and it's been 10 years here at US in Texas, and yeah. It's currently into AI, and I spend most of my time doing podcasts, and I write blogs, and yeah, but that's what I do apart from work.
So, it's easy for me to get excited about some of this stuff. I mean, reading headlines. I get I'm fortunate to speak to a lot of members who are, implementing these things or trying to implement these things, or at least coming to us for advice on these things. But you're living it every day. What are you kind of most excited about as you see these headlines popping up every day? You mentioned before we started, you're kind of heads down, doing this work on a day-to-day basis. So what are you kind of excited most about?
Yeah, so I'm glad to see all this investment because I don't know about anything happened yesterday. So your highlights, whatever you gave just before this conversation, was very nice, and you detailed out very well. And now I kind of have a grasp of what's happening around the world. So that's what I can see. Apart from that, what I do, uh, what I see this as, it's a great. What do you say? It's a great platform where we have it just got a boom in 1 year, and there were so many things going on around this. So, like, we started with a small chatbot, and then slowly we then moved to the next level where we said this is the data bat, and we feeded it some skills, and then it took those data, and then it started answering some relevant answers to your questions. And today we now have agents, and there are a few other investments which are going on, so we don't know what's next. Yeah.
Yeah, it occurs to me that nobody really knows, right? And in the sense that, if you say you're an expert and you know what's coming next, you're either wrong or lying. It just evolves so quickly. I saw someone who at an event last year who was a technology influencer and evangelist, and she admitted that you just can't completely keep up on everything with this. But that's why, that's kind of the crux of my main question for you. If everybody has access to these powerful tools, how do you gain an edge? How do you stay ahead and beat the company or the guy next to you?
Yeah, staying head. It's the way how every person see, or everyone approach, right? Like, for example, there are, like, if you assume, like, I work with around 10 or 15 people in a team, and how do you stand out from the team is like doing something uh, uh, more than what it is actually needed, right? For example, you do your job, and apart from that, you make yourself comfortable taking this product, or taking what you know to the general public. For example, writing a blog, and then telling how AI works and what are all new capabilities it has got, and write anything about new model, and how advancements in health, or how advancement in fintechs, like how AI has made this system better, right? So if you take this to a large group of audience, then obviously you are going to stand out. And so when you do this job, you can't take things that are not true, right? So you have to go through things, and then you have to read about all the latest offerings and things like that, so for you to keep yourself updated, so you can answer so many questions which comes around AI, like, be it data, or be it AI, or be it your apps. Like, you will get all hands on all of these three buckets, so that you will have complete knowledge of what's going on. Yeah.
And are there certain business processes or certain industries that either that you're working with and can share, or just that you've been kind of privy to, that are really gaining some of the best advantages right now?
Yeah, so I've heard and I've read few other forums, like where the real AI is being used. Like, for example, I kind of see first it's helping enterprises. Like, enterprises uses copilots or other things to do query their internal systems. Like for example, if I need to know the policy or if I need to know the internal HR stuffs, I used to raise a request to HR team and someone from HR needs to answer, and it won't happen in a day, and it takes around 2 or 3 days. But now with help of Copilot, I can know or I can get answers as quick as possible. Like for example, if I need to know the leave policy or how this works if I do this, so those I see that in the first place it's getting a lot of traction. And the next thing what I would say is uh, a few industries like maybe retail or manufacturing, they are getting benefited out of this. For example, the retail industry creating um, what you call buying the buying is made easy today, right? When you go to store and then when you look at the product at the three-dimensional, today those features and those capabilities are already available. So there are a model called trellis which kind of converts a 2D image into multi-dimensional image, so that is possible. And with retail can use that, and to so that you can, when you order a product or when you order something, a bread packet from home, then you will see a complete dimension of all the all the stuffs around the packet, right? So that kind of that kind of features or that kind of capability gives you a complete advantage of what you how you sell a product. So that I see in retail. And apart from that, in manufacturing, with latest advancements like AI agents, I think manufacturing will get a lot of traction going forward, like creating autonomous systems in the plant or doing something autonomous, like which you have been doing with manual. Because with agents, we have tasks which can actually do some tasks. So with the help of task, they can build now autonomous systems, like where all they have been spending a lot of manpower or manual hours, unnecessary manual hours, like where there is no or repeatable tasks. So those can be automated by these agents to get some revenue. That's what I see in these two industries. And apart from that, there are few in educations, like where people use it for math and self learning or tutoring and things like that, where I see some tractions around that. So these are the things where I mostly see. And there may be something which I am not aware of, but from the reading news and forums and Forbes and other things, so these are the things what I see really getting more value out of AI. Yep.
Chris?
Are there some specific use cases that come to mind in terms of successful deployments? One of the challenges certainly we saw with RPA is that success and value add is highly use case dependent, and I think that's true of AI as well. So, anything stand out in terms of some of your deployments that produce some meaningful results for clients?
Yeah, so I heard one of my colleague who he's not my colleague, he's my friend, my previous colleague. So who is based out of UK, and they are doing something around. They did something around agents recently, so which is kind of cloud operations automation. So where you use agents to monitor your cloud infrastructure apps, and it kind of what it basically does is it go get the telemetry data, and it does the analysis, and it is doing proactively. So whenever there is a warning, even before error happens, right, with the alerts, with all the warnings, it go get do a Bing search and find the exact reason of why this is happening. And based on the results, it can ideate few steps, and that will keep human in loop, so that even in the midnight when your system is going down, and you don't need to wake up and bring in all your team to do the analysis, right? So when you say some go and take this action, where it gives you list of actions to do, when you say go and do this action, it kind of go and do it behind the scene, so that you won't be you don't need to be awake. So it does that, and then it verifies this, and it validates whether the fix or the um, fine tuning what it did to fix the problem has solved it. And if it sees some success, then obviously it will come back, and then it will tell you like, hey, I did this and it worked. And again, it takes it back to the ledger and makes sure that next time if the same problem happens, it tries this first automatically without my intervention. So that's how it is the continuous learning as well as the autonomous actions, whatever it takes, it's saving some human efforts, right? Unnecessary human efforts, like which is not needed, so that the next morning the team can come focus on the real work. So that's one example I see, which is kind of solid. Yeah.
Naveen, I'm wondering too, part of the challenge with AI, and you have a architecture background, so you appreciate this more than most. I when I speak to organizations about implementing AI, the biggest hurdle that they don't expect, I think, is access to data, siloed data, setups and things. What are some of the considerations you recommend people keep in mind when they're trying to integrate AI and machine learning and generative models into their existing IT infrastructure?
Yeah, there are a couple of things which you need to make sure. First of all, the data. So, if the data structure, like whatever has been built, maybe the table schemas or anything which were built around 1990s, and those were like have some different naming conventions and things like that, right? So, these types of problem needs to be addressed first. So, prepare your data to make sure that data is very well formatted and it has own labeling done, right? For example, without knowing without having a value or meaningful column names doesn't make sense that data is right. Or so first of all, try to make sure the data is formatted very well and it is labeled right, so that it kind of reduces your prompt itself, right? You don't need to explain like, this is the field what I use for this, and this is the value which I use for this. So to make sure that data, if you if you keep your data very well formatted and labeled very well, then that is obviously going to reduce the prompt cost. Like whatever, for every prompt, you don't need to tell the LLM that this is my data structure, right? It kind of self understand based on how you have your data formatted, right? And the next thing is very important, like security, right? What level of access you give to what level of action for it to perform, right? You can't give a superior level of access for the small tasks like read or get level of task, right? For example, can you show me the list of stock prices about Tesla and Nvidia for last couple of years? So in that case, I'll just give only the read access to the to my data, and instead I won't have it make any manipulations to my data. So my data is the single point of truth. So I will always try to maintain that access, so that I'll not get into it, get into a difficult situation. So that's what I would say. And the next thing is, like, data is the core for your model to act well, right? Otherwise, it will you will a lot of hallucinations, like which we talk about, will end up in that if the data is not true, or if the data is not accessible, or if the data is not enough. So plan that accordingly. Make sure you have enough data with the right level of access and given to this right set of model, so that it will act even better than how you see the normal world.
Chris, does that cover it from your standpoint, or what are some of the other challenges you've seen when you're speaking to clients?
I think Naveen hit it spot on the head. You need to pick the right kind of use case to get any value out of this, but more importantly is the data. And as someone who's kind of been in and around data control, governance, regulation for decades, I think that trying to do something useful with AI is amplifying the need for better governance, better control of your data, better understanding of your data. The inherent basically these things are statistical amplifiers. Generative AI is a statistical amplifier. So if you feed it dirty data or bad data or inaccurate data or inherently biased data, it's only going to get worse. So I think more than ever before, there's always been an understanding that we need to have better control of our information, but never before has there been such a sort of a binary where if you don't have meaningful control of your data, if you don't understand it, if you're not governing it effectively, you simply cannot play in this game effectively. And Naveen, I suspect that you feel the same way about it. More than ever, data quality and data comprehension is at the forefront.
Yep, I agree.
So, part of the excitement, Naveen, has been, and you kind of alluded to this, right? AI and ML and now Gen AI around, more of the data analysis, piece of things. Are you seeing it still predominantly there, or are you kind of also seeing it creep into other areas? Because I know, some of the use cases I'm most excited about are, around customer service, around product development, around sales and marketing. Are you starting to see those use cases as well?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of customer support. So I think there is one recent model which is available, and I read through one use case so somewhere in the open forum. So where people trying to, so there is a insurance provider, and there is a doctor office, and they have deployed this agent. And what this agent does is it literally calls the insurance provider and try to get all the missing insurance information about the patient with the with the insurance provider, and gets it for the claims purposes and other things to the doctor office. So it is automated, and we use it GPT-4o real-time model, I think, so that can talk, and that can understand, like, you can converse in the voice chat. So it kind of basically give a call to insurance provider and get the missing information, and then it comes back and updates the system. So which it's been you can hold it, or you can put that call on wait, so you can do a lot many other things possible. So which this has been for example, they have given some metrics out, and which this job actually took several hours for human to waste on a daytime to submit all this, right? Instead this can happen anytime during offline, and when you have that open API out from the other side, then this is going to act on it, act on behalf of your doctor office customer service agent. So that's one thing what I see in the real world use cases. There are a lot many ways where we can use this voice based rack system, where differently able person can interact with system directly with voice. So that's one another advantage what I see, and especially in the education sites, right, where you can have you don't have time to type or time to access your keyboard and type all this things. Instead you just go walk and ask something, and then it kind of do some action behind it, and it gives back the result, so which is great. So it's not like Alexa or something where you ask it question, it plays, or it is all pre-programmed. So, and this is something where you can program by yourself. The agents can write your program, and then where you can ask it something like, for example, I want to play a snake game, and you don't need to have a programmer and have a coder do all this snake game for you, right? So yesterday evening I had this, so I covered that in one of my blog as well. So I want to play a snake game, I just wrote 5 lines of agent code, and then agent said that it created a snake game for me. So this is the level of advancement what we are going. So I gave them instructions, and then it created a Python code, and it executed it for me, and then it was able to present it in the right way. And I can even tweak it, like for a 6-year-old, I can change it for a make snake to go slow. So these kind of capabilities it can do autonomously. So yeah, we can achieve whatever we want with all these enablements which came out.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, have you come across, and if so, how have you dealt with issues like hallucinations, or where the system is kind of effectively lying to you, or trying to gaslight you? All those kind of horror stories that we hear about the technology. Have you come across any of that?
Yeah, Chris. So when you start a project, as you mentioned, right, identify the right use case. So once you have that use case, first make sure you have enough data to avoid hallucination. So first, make sure the data is right, and the next thing is do self-evaluation, like do a not just data or the RAG, whatever you say, retrieval augmented generation. That is not sufficient for you to make a system right and stay away from these types of hallucinations. So what you have to do is the next step is eval. So use evaluations to make sure that you evaluate your system completely, and make sure there is no such like you give it like 50 or 100 different types of questions from user base based on the previous customer care conversation data, whatever you have, you give it all this question and with the data behind the scenes, and let's see if that's able to support and answer all your questions. And you will, if you run that evaluation, you'll kind of know like what level of percentage is it matching with the answers given by a live representative, right? So when you chart them out, so that will tell you whether you are going in the right direction or you need to do even more than what you did, right? Basically you wanted to add more data, or you wanted to do more fine tuning and take the product to, when the final product goes to a market, then you continuously this is very important. So you just the fine tuning doesn't stops here, right? So you'll always get the data and then you will tune it again to make sure that it can answer all the new questions which it sees, right? The continuous learning is also very important in terms of others what we have talked before. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, what I was going to ask was, if you're seeing any, as you know, I'm pretty excited about, getting beyond data and analytics and some of these sales and marketing and customer service, interactions, which I think are going to become more and more of a differentiator for brands when, especially in spaces that are becoming more and more commoditized. But I'm wondering, Chris, if you are seeing any, use cases that, you particularly like, or do you agree that, this is becoming more and more difficult to differentiate in a world where everybody's got access to these types of these tools, these AI tools, right?
I think much as we learned through multiple years of doing RPA, again, use case specific. And I think the two areas, because RPA being rules-based automation, it was very easy to say, in this instance, do this, in another instance, do that. So when we're looking at probabilistic solutions or statistics-driven solutions like AI, I think you have the use cases tend to be either very much at the low end, sort of the chat body sort of thing, where we're rapidly replacing human interaction for kind of low impact, low value, commoditized sort of solutions. And then there's the high end, which is more of the, I would say it's the research assistant model, where you have a human expert that needs, that is using AI to enhance their own capability to do very human work. This is like an attorney using AI to help draft memoranda, let's say, or using the tools to come up with better life insurance policies at a life insurance company. In these instances, you are using it basically as a super search engine or a super Google, but hopefully with higher value added. But there's a real polarity in the nature of those use cases. Again, it's either going to be very commoditized, where if I'm wrong, it's not that big of a deal. In those instances where you do get a hallucination, let's say, or where I have a very capable human that I'm trying to greatly enhance their throughput or the quality of what they're producing by giving them almost unlimited access to human knowledge. So not a lot of stuff in the middle, and oftentimes the sort of middle of the road use cases are things that you could have done with RPA 5 years ago anyway. So my general sense is that's what we're finding. It's going to be either simple commoditized type stuff, or it's going to be high end research assistant-y sort of things.
Naveen, what's your advice, back to the data analysis, the AI and machine learning data analysis. I don't think we're quite at the point. I mean, there's a lot of talk around agentic AI now, right? But for the most part, I think that humans are still making the very strategic and agile kind of business decisions. Any advice for companies trying to leverage AI for that?
Yeah. So I don't know how far agents has reached the external world, right? I know it just started like 4 months back, maybe in the last year. So uh, when you kind of my recent blog is more all about agents, so it can give you a complete picture of how agents are and what it is kind of doing and how autonomous it can go and to which level and how we can control. So those types of stuff, right? So when you start with AI agents, and I think I have seen a lot of potential around that stuff, like how the way how it can do or how what it can do, right? So that's unlimited. So you can for example, right, I have my own website, and in that website I wanted to add a separate menu item. And when you talk about agile, right, there is a separate menu item, and that is all about what I have earned so far and other things. And I don't know, like, it's been 3 months or 6 months back when I touched my website code, and I don't know how to do all this. So then I just go to Copilot, GitHub Copilot, and then I asked it, like, can I just want this and this to be placed here, and this is the size, and this is how I wanted to see it. So without any next step, right? Whatever the first output I got, and it just did a complete analysis of my code, and it gave me the list of places where I have to touch, and I just reviewed that once, and I didn't do any coding or anything. So I just reviewed them all once, and then I just clicked the button. Okay, I'm good with this. So when I did that, and it completed it, and it took me to the testing phase where it opened my uh, website, and then it showed me, like, this is what it is, and you asked me to add this, and it validated whether it finded a menu item on the browser, and it just went into the menu item, and using Selenium scripts, it just look all the pieces of the web page, like whether it added all the words in place, and it's all the right size what I asked for, and then finally it submitted. So this is one use case where in days where we have to go and do everything manually, or it takes plenty of time, and I have to break my head over the weekend to get this all done. So this is one simple example what I would say, like how the agents and other stuffs are taking me to the next level, right? Not the way how I had been doing earlier. And yeah, this is the one advancement I see. And with the latest news headline, one of the headline what you talked about, like Facebook is going to take out the uh, mid senior level positions. So mid senior level positions are the ones who are going to do all this work, right? Like, you do this development, enhancement, and adding features and capabilities to your product. So if those are being taken care by these agents or by copilots or someone else, then yeah, obviously. So what he's thinking is right, is what I thought at the time when it did this for me.
Chris, any final thoughts or questions for Naveen?
In the work that you're doing, and obviously, blog posting and so forth, where do you see the biggest advances in 2025? What do you think is going to be the most disruptive aspect of AI adoption?
So far, whatever new things comes, I write in my blog. So that kind of helped me to know the audience, right? Like, what audience, like, if I write the way how this model works, and I see only very less traction there, but more around SLMs, like small language models. Like, instead of going into large language models, I see a lot of stuffs around small language model. My recent blog, what I wrote about Pi 4 model, that's a small kind of small language model. You can run it in your own laptop or any edge devices. So there are more views, and then I see a lot of people read that, and within a day I got around 2K hit on that blog. So which is something unique which I have never seen. And the next thing what I'm seeing is around agents. So whatever you write about agents, and I see a lot of people want to know at least what is it, whether they are, I don't know whether they are implementing or whether they are using it to the core, but they actually wanted to know how and what it is doing and what it can do for their product. So that's how I see it, Chris. Yeah, these are the two things what I see that most. And apart from that, I've written some data and transformation and other stuff, but at least this is the one what I'm seeing for last 2-3 months now. So.
Interesting. Well, Naveen, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely want to keep in touch with you, and we'll send a link out to your blog as well, so our audience can see it. But Happy New Year, and thanks for joining.
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Thank you very much, Chris. See you then.
Cheers.
Chris, crazy week. Like I said, headlines at a breakneck pace. I mean, we could have done an entire hour just on headlines for this week, but we'll keep tabs on that, and I'm starting to do these morning minute segments. So if you're not signed up for our community and content platform, network.irpaai.com, at least 2-3 times a week, I'm just jumping on there and doing like headlines because there's just so much going on in the industry.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride this year for sure. And hopefully we can help provide our audience with some guidance on how to navigate it. One of the things that I'm most heavily investing in, I think, this year is this notion of both AI governance, but also data. As Naveen pointed out repeatedly, we're going to find more and more of an emphasis on the need for quality data, knowing what you've got, making sure it's correct for use, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a real sexy topic, but it's, I think, one of the most important aspects of getting anything of value out of this AI. And if we're going to be making trillions of dollars of investments, we've got to get this right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're back on Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And in the meantime, if there's anything you're working on and you want some free advice or just to learn some art of the possible from our team of analysts, go to irpaai.com/analysts for more resources. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
See ya.